What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Demar Wilson pretty much got his start as a small-time actor initially. I think he had like roles in small spots early on. I believe it was in Cotton Comes to Harlem. He had a small role as a spectator in the crowd, one of those blink and you'll miss them type spots. The same movie that Red Fox, who played Fred Sanford, had a larger but still somewhat small role in that movie, Cotton Comes to Harlem. I also remember Demar Wilson playing one of the robbers who robbed the bunker home. I think it was in 1971. And the other actor that was in that particular episode was Cleavon Little, who went on to star in Blazing Saddles. And Cleavon Little also himself had a carved out a niche for himself in theater, television, and movies. I think the last thing he did was he replaced Frankie Faison in True Colors before he died of colon cancer. And I believe it was October of 1993 at age 53. Lamont Sanford, Demar Wilson, but Lamont Sanford is his biggest role, obviously. He played that role from, I think it was 6 seasons. I think Sanford and Son was a mid-season replacement for the 1971-72 season. And then I think it went off the air in 1977. To me, the first 2 seasons of Sanford and Son are classics. The 3rd season is very funny. The 4th season was a little bit more hit or miss. The 5th season, you can kind of tell the show was falling apart at that point in time. But after he left Sanford and Son, he starred in a sitcom that wasn't as successful I think it was called Baby, I'm Back. And his other television and movie credits include episodes of Love Boat, Today's FBI, and The New Odd Couple. And that's a show that he starred in the early 1980s. I'm trying to remember who he co-starred with. I want to say it might have been Ron Glass in that sitcom. And then after that, he pretty much quit Hollywood for the most part, and he focused more on his religion and being focused on his ministry and being a Christian, and he kind of quit Hollywood for the most part. He did have a few other roles. He starred in a film called Kid Me and the Kid in 1993, and he starred in the 2000 comedy film Hammerlock alongside Pat Morita of Karate Kid fame. And recently, we did see Lamont Wilson on some podcasts, some internet podcasts, some YouTube podcasts, talking about his experiences in Hollywood, his experiences on Sanford and Son, some of the good and some of the bad things. Always came across to me as a very serious-minded, a very educated, very wise individual. As I said before, he became an ordained minister. I believe it was 1984 at the Church of God in Christ, and was a Christian evangelist for the remaining 40 plus years of his life. And it was in 2009 when Lamont Wilson releases his biography titled Second Banana, The Bittersweet Memoirs of the Sanford and Son Years. And he was married to a woman named Cicely Johnston. They had been married for over 51 years. And Lamont Wilson is survived by her and 5 other children. And she was a former model. But yeah, man, Lamont Wilson, of course, was one of the great characters in television history, in my opinion. One of the things I didn't like about Lamont when the show first started was I didn't like that he was sometimes, because I know Sanford and Son is based on a British sitcom called Steptoe and Son, right? And, you know, I get that. But I didn't like how Lamont was overly abusive, especially verbally, to his father. I thought it was disrespectful. If you know anything about Black culture, one thing that we don't tolerate is that type of verbal shit. Like, at least back then. You know, now, this generation, whatever, you know. But that was something I didn't like, even as a kid. And they did tone that down a little bit. I mean, he still got into arguments with his pop, but the shoving and all of that stuff, that toned down over the years. And Fred became more curmudgeonly to combat that, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, Sanford is some of the funniest sitcoms of all time, a classic sitcom, and it's historic because it really is, when you think about it, the very first huge hit sitcom featuring African Americans. Now, I know you had Julia in the late 60s with what's her name? Played in Dynasty. Pretty black woman, Diane Carroll. I know you had Julia, but you know, Sanford and Son was a mega hit. At one point in time, I want to say Sanford and Son was top 2 or 3 in the Nielsen ratings. And, you know, when I think about it, man, this now leaves pretty much everybody gone, man, from the main cast. Everybody's gone. Red Fox died in 1991. The actor that played Bubba, he died in 1997. The actor that played Grady, Whitman Mayo, died in 2001. LaWanda Page, I think she died in 2002. Donna, who played Fred's love interest, we just lost her last year. Now we lost Lamont Wilson. Rollo died some years ago. It might have been almost 10 years ago now, or close to it. Some years ago, I know that. The only actors I can think of that are still alive are the ones who play Smitty and Hoppy now. You know, not Swanee. Officer Swanee, the first white cop, he died in 99. I think Smitty and Hoppy are the only ones I can think of that's still alive. Hal Williams, and I can't think of the guy that played Hoppy's name, or Hopkins. I can't think of his name. Uh, Julio died a couple of years ago. Yeah, man. Anyway, man, rest in peace, Lamont. What you guys think?